Hello, YouTube. This is Charles Bird here. It's my sidekick Gizmo. This is the August 24th, 2020 edition of Rant-Om Thoughts, where sacred cows get butchered, grilled, and killed for your lunching and munching pleasure. Okay. Much to get through. Now, as those of you who follow me on social media will tell you, I've been helping out the Liberty movement by promoting it on, in reopen forums on Facebook. And this also helps the reopen movement too, because it hurts the reopen movement's credibility when you have Trump supporters monopolizing the conversation and rewriting the whole history of the thing to make him look like he's the big hero of the whole movement, when the reality is that he's far from it. He's the one who handed over control of the country to Fauci and allowed him to do to the economy what Barack Obama tried to do in 8 years. But anyway, got into a little tiff with a Trumpkin. So said I wasn't quote unquote thinking for myself. Well, here's the thing: I do think for myself. It's why I'm voting for Jo Jorgensen in 2020, who, by the way, is the only candidate in all 50 states, on the ballot in all 50 states, who opposes mask mandates. Whereas Joe Biden, he supports a nationwide mask mandate, and Trump flip-flops on the issue like he does most other issues. So it's why I'm voting for Jo Jorgensen. It's because I think for myself that I'm a registered libertarian and that I am a card-carrying member of that party. And it's because I think for myself that I support the Mises Caucus, which is the continuation of what Ron Paul started. It's the continuation of that revolution. And it's because I think for myself that I never bought into that whole myth of Donald Trump as right populist superhero. And why I didn't vote for him in 2016, and I have no plans to vote for him in November. It's also why I think QAnon is just trailer park Scientology. Yeah. Ron Paul Liberty Report did a great interview with Robert Kennedy Jr. This isn't necessarily a left. This is not necessarily an issue of left or right. So it's very refreshing to me whenever somebody like, say, Bill Maher speaks out against the lockdowns, and now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Whose father was Robert Kennedy. and whose uncle was John F. Kennedy. And even though he's not somebody I agree with on a day-to-day basis, and even though he says some things I don't quite agree with in the interview, it does speak volumes to the man's character when he places his political aspirations, his standing with the Northeast establishment, his standing in his within his family, and just his reputation in general, when he speaks out for press, for health freedom and parental rights. When it came down to the the vaccine controversy, and now he's speaking out against mask mandates and lockdowns, and as well as this mandatory vaccine that's coming down the pipeline. I'm going to link to it in the description, so you can see it for yourself and not take my word for it. I think you might enjoy it. Tomi Lahren, a NeoCon Barbie. And that's just a little nickname I have for a certain type of female celebrity Republican. You know, they're usually blonde, unnaturally pretty looking. Yeah. And they're just partisan spokesholes. They're not really intelligent. Even though the most intelligent of the bunch, I would say, would be the prototype herself, Ann Coulter. But most of them aren't very intelligent. So anyway, she posted a on her Instagram an all men are garbage rant. Oh boy. And the Manosphere just nuked her. It was glorious. You know, my takeaway from the whole thing is that neocon Barbie types like Tomi Lahren and no, contrary to what Richard Cooper will tell you, she's not a tradcon girl. You know, tradcon girls are already married by the time they're 22. Okay, their parents ship them off to college, usually a religious school that's close to their church tradition. For instance, if they're Lutheran like me, they probably went to Concordia. They get snapped up by some attractive upperclassman from a well-to-do family, never a blue-collar townie like me. Snapped up like that, and they get their MRS degree by the time they're 22. So Tomi Lahren is not a tradcon woman. You know, besides, she's 27 and single. By the time they get to be her age, a tradcon woman already has 4 to 6 kids. But I'm digressing. Also, Tomi Lahren is is pro-abortion. You know, there are no tradcon women who are pro-abortion. As a matter of fact, Tomi Lahren sued Glenn Beck for firing her because because her pro-abortion stance was just too far from the philosophy that Beck was pushing through his channel. Yeah. So anyway, it just tells me that NeoCon Barbies are not all that different from quote unquote from most. I would say a good 99% of modern women. They aren't. You know, they aren't. You know, they spend their 20s and a large chunk of their 30s falling from bed to bed to bed to bed, running around nightclubs, chasing after Chad and Tyrone. The only time they'll ever settle for a guy that's lower than 8 in the 1 to 10 look scale would be as if he makes 60 grand a year or more. No, forget 80 grand a year or more. If you don't believe me, go to POF, go to Tinder, go to all the date sites and look at what they're asking for. You know, a guy who looks like the hot matinee idol of the week. I kind of lost track a long time ago of who it is because I don't follow that stuff. You know, must have you know, finely sculpted, well chiseled, 6-pack abdomen. Must be at least 6 feet tall. Must drive a high-powered sports car and must also own a motorcycle and a speedboat. So yeah, Tomi Lahren's, you know, not different from, and the other NeoCon Barbies aren't that much different from modern women. Is what I'm saying. You know, and you know, yeah, and whenever she you know, she isn't able to find the quote unquote nice man, the quote unquote good man, you know, the guy that she probably you know, says no to when he nervously asks her out, or doesn't respond to his voicemails or her or his inbox messages until she finally gets all, you know, restraining order on the poor guy, or until he gets the hint and leaves her alone. So what she starts ranting about not being able to find good men because all men are garbage. And if you pay close enough attention to what she's ranting about, that's the, you know, the type of guy that she's attracted to is the type of guy she's complaining about. And this is something I've seen all the time on my timeline on Facebook from women in their 20s and 30s and even in their 40s who are still single or have been divorced and are trying to get back into the whole dating thing. You know, they'll complain about finding a good man, and then they'll complain about some guy that you know, they'll complain about some guy who's commitment. They'll complain about guys being commitment phobic and running around, and you know, but that's the guy that they chase after. And being the guy who likes to track trends, I can kind of predict her future. She'll either, Tomi Lahren will either become Newt Gingrich's wife number 4 or Rush Limbaugh's wife number 15. Because again, the only time they don't care about looks is when a guy is rich, and that's how guys like Gingrich and Limbaugh are able to find, these attractive young wives to replace the dumpy middle-aged wife that they get tired of. Or she'll just end up becoming a spinster like Ann Coulter. Well, I'm going to leave a couple of YouTube videos below in the description. One from Richard Cooper of Entrepreneurs in Cars. He's from the Red Pill MGTOW side of the community. And I'm also going to leave Matt Cross's reaction to it. He's a pickup artist. He has a YouTube channel called The 33 Secrets, who has a differing view. So I'll just leave it there for you to watch and make up your own mind. And product review. This is the ViperTek flashlight. Decided to get this because the Diamondback, though a reliable piece of equipment, was kind of large and unwieldy, and I had to holster it on the left side of my body and cross draw it like a sword because it was that long. This is very lightweight. One of my favorite features is that it zooms, and it comes in 4 settings. And of course the 4th. Bit of caution about ordering this though. Yeah, it's cheap. It's like $8. It'll show up within like 3 days of ordering it, depending on what state or country you're in. But even though the interior may feel tough and look tough, the circuitry and wiring inside is very delicate. So be very careful about dropping it, and I would not advise anyone to use it as a blunt instrument in close quarter combat. All right. So didn't take as long as I expected it would, but anyway, think while it's still legal. Reopen California. Vote gold. I'll see you next time.